To share an additional legislative perspective with us, we're fortunate to have Representative Brett Davis in the room. Representative Davis represents the town of Oregon and that part of the state, where he also is president of the local Chamber of Commerce there. So he brings that legislative perspective, he brings the business perspective, he also brings the perspective as the ranking Republican member of the Assembly Committee on Education. And while he might be from the opposite side of the aisle as Representative Seidel when it comes to some political issues, he's on the same side of the question regarding early childhood education, especially since his wife and he are the parents of a recent newborn. So please welcome Representative Brett Davis.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that introduction, and it's always hard to follow Representative Seidel when she's speaking. I usually try to avoid that on the floor of the State Assembly because she always does an eloquent job, and she is a real leader in the state legislature and in the state. And you oftentimes don't hear that from a Republican and Democrat back and forth, but I have a lot of respect for her and what she's done. I want to thank all of you for being here today and all the work that the Committee on Early Childhood has done. Jim Lenhart is the one who constantly is harping on me on all of these issues back and forth. A day doesn't go by when Jim is not stopping in my office talking about early childhood issues. And so the Celebrate Children's Foundation, all the work that they've done, I want to thank you guys for your efforts. I know you're a partner in an overall effort, but I just want to recognize the importance of it. And Jim has done a terrific job. I come at these issues from a really unique perspective right now. I've been the chair of the Assembly Education Committee, not this session, but when the Republicans were in the majority in the Assembly. I'm now the ranking Republican on the Assembly Education Committee. But probably most uniquely and most importantly, I have 3 young kids at home. Steve talked about our newborn that was born, Sam. He was born on October 6th. But I also have a range of kids. So, we talk birth to 5 right now. I literally have a 5-year-old son, Will, a 3-year-old daughter, Audrey, and I have a 5-month-old Sam. So I have a very unique perspective as it relates to their development. And every child's different, even within families. But it's been fascinating to watch the development of each one of them, and they're all at such different stages right now. And I look at my wife and I and our family, and just on a very practical level, we're both busy people, we both work, we send our children to daycare every day, and I think we spend as much time as we can trying to read with them, trying to develop their language skills from early on. My mom's a 3rd grade teacher in Monroe, always talking about how much should we do, and don't get frustrated if they're not picking something up. And my daughter developed a little bit later than what my son did, but now I think she's probably surpassed him in certain things. As parents, we always worry about those things. But then I think about the over 400,000 children throughout the state that are in that birth to 5 category, and about 37%, and you guys know this, it's in your briefing materials today, but about 37% of the kids live in poverty across the state, 200% of the federal poverty level. And then you ask the question, what is going on with those kids? My wife and I, we do our best to try to read with our kids every day and try to give them every opportunity. That doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen. So the experience that I have, what I've been trying to focus on, and my message to you today is very simple. 2 things. We need a partnership, and we need a long-term investment down the road. We have to recognize that we cannot be frustrated in the next 2 to 3 years, in the next 4 years, because money is tight everywhere. And I'm not trying to rain on parades or anything. It is going to be very, very difficult in the next 2 years. Because when you look at the state budget statistics, and Representative Seidel knows this better than anybody, because Democrats have traditionally championed, and they do champion education issues. And, it's not a partisan thing, but just look for facts of what happened in the last budget. $532 million, 532 of state funding was cut from K-12 education. And a lot of it was backfilled by the federal money, and that's not a political statement, but it's the reality that it's difficult to invest in birth to 5 when you have K-12 funding that's being cut. And we have referendums going off around all across the state on funding issues. So I bring that up simply because we can't get frustrated early on because we are in what people are calling the Great Recession. I mean, the worst economy in the history since probably World War II. We have to take a partnership approach. We have to take a long-term view approach. There are non-monetary things that I know that we can move aggressively on. And when we look at, I look at it as a targeted approach. all the different Head Start programs, child care centers, home visits, all these different things. I want to try to advance the agenda as aggressively as we can in each one of these targeted approaches and setting specific standards within. I'm a realist. Whenever you've tried, and I've watched this in different public policy, whether it's major overhauling healthcare reform or major overhaul in education, whenever you have a major sweeping proposal, it just collapses under its own weight. What you have to do is engage in the grassroots level on people that are doing it on the ground every day, partner with people like yourself, and then it's got to come from you, and then it comes to the legislature. You can't have people in Madison telling you, this is what's going to happen, we know what's best. It's going to happen that way. A very targeted, aggressive approach, in my opinion, is the way to go. And I don't look at it from just birth to 5. I look at it, and I don't look at it from birth to 12th grade, to 18. I look at it all the way through college and lifelong learning beyond that. I mean, look at what's happening in Milwaukee and a lot of the different challenges. There are some very positive things that are happening in the Milwaukee public schools. But we have five schools that have been failing over the course of the last 5 years. And a lot of it, I believe, is related to broken families. So we have to figure out a comprehensive approach to trying to pull that together. And it starts at birth. And we have to start to recognize that all across the state of Wisconsin. But I don't believe we should stop there. We need to engage the university system. The two-year campuses, the tech colleges, and the border regions needs to be in these meetings, in these rooms. And I apologize if anybody is here. I didn't see the full entire roster list. Maybe you've already engaged in these conversations with them. But if we don't take a comprehensive approach, we'll do a rating system in birth to 5 that won't match up with K-12, that won't match up with technical colleges, that won't match up with the two-year systems, that won't match up with the overall university system. And then we'll have data systems that won't talk to each other, and we're going to be spending countless dollars of taxpayer dollars trying to fix this system in the long run, over time. I really believe we have to take a full, comprehensive view to that. Finally, one idea that I want to pitch to you today, and as I was telling Jim right before I came up here, I always get in trouble when I think of ideas on the walk over. But and I haven't done the full research behind this to see, but I know that within the public school system in Florida and other states, and by the way, I always get frustrated when I read through briefing materials, and I know that Massachusetts has got a comprehensive early childhood program. Illinois has got a comprehensive childhood program, and I look at Wisconsin, where are we at? We need to do better. I come from the Tommy Thompson mode and of mindset of we can be the best in the country, we can be the best in the world. And I think the military system is something that we really need to look at in terms of learning and our targeted approaches and targeted investments. But the idea was that for businesses that are out there that donate into a scholarship fund, if you will, especially I would have to say you'd have to target it to low-income individuals, 200% of the federal poverty level or lower, and these targeted investments that we're talking about. Businesses and associations that contribute towards this should be able to do so on a tax-free basis as it relates to the state. I know there's a license plate program that goes to the Celebrate Children's Foundation. You get to write that off. It's 20-some bucks. I mean, that's really peanuts compared to what we probably could be doing. There are a lot of people that are heavily invested and understand the quality of this down the road. That's the type of innovation that we should be thinking of. That's the type of partnership that we need to be talking about across the state and educating legislators because, as I said before, times are tough. The next state budget, we have to solve right now an almost $3 billion structural deficit moving into next year. And the numbers, as I meet with employers all across the state, it's not getting any better right now. It is going to be a stark reality and a very difficult time, regardless who gets elected to the next governor. They're going to have some very difficult challenges. So my challenge to you guys is to continue to promote the education effort, what you're doing. What you are doing is very important and very much recognized by leaders on both sides of the political aisle. So continue to keep that effort up. And when we have ideas to partner like this, continue to push them with business leaders, legislative leaders. But let's take this to a comprehensive approach from birth all the way up. We should have senior citizens sitting in this room, almost from birth to 65 and beyond. We need to start focusing on that effort in the state of Wisconsin because for us in Wisconsin, we can pride ourselves on some of the greatest programs across our state, but we have to be more aggressive in early childhood education and have a more comprehensive, streamlined system. So with that, I want to thank you for having us here today. Donna, it's nice to see you. We'll spend a lot of time in session tomorrow, for better or for worse, but thank you all very much.